Hey everybody. Just wanted to share a little bit of info from a session I did with Coach Matt Sella. Matt's a great coach and a good player. Kind of wanted to see if he had any more distance in him. So when we took a look at kind of his ground interaction, we see that he doesn't really have any dominant forces, right? So his verticals, his torque, and his horizontals are all kind of just hovering either at or below the low end of PGA Tour average. Club head speed at 110 miles an hour, ball speed at 154. And on this one here, you're going to see a little bit of a pull left, 36 yards. But this was the longest tee shot that he hit in his initial kind of assessment with me. So his straight ones were kind of 253, but I wanted to use this one because it was the longest. So again, we see no real dominant force traits. And then when we look at his pressure, we're going to see a acceleration forward. And then the acceleration just kind of stops. It doesn't move backwards. It just kind of stops, and then it restarts again. And, you know, when we look at this center of pressure velocity graph, we're going to see that there's really no meaningful rise above this graph. 1.1 miles per hour is its peak, and it's after impact, and pretty far after impact. So all things considered, when we're looking at distance or adding some speed and some yardage, we're going to look for ways to increase these dominant forces. But since Matt didn't have a dominant force, I think the one that was lacking the most is actually in this braking force, so this iceberg down below this mountain. At this point, at just before impact, he's only using 6% of his body weight to stabilize and stop his center of pressure or stop his movement towards the target. And to be honest, that's just not enough. It's going to limit his ability to hit up on the golf ball. He's going to do that mostly through hanging a little bit of pressure back like what we saw. And ultimately, if we can increase this braking force, typically we see increase in rotation and increase in vertical force. So when we take a look at successful swing, sorry about that. Take a look at a successful swing here. We're going to get this one at 285 yards. Still a little bit left, not as far left, but still a little bit of a pull pattern there, or pull tendency. But we see 26 yards of increased carry distance. We see that the path is relatively unchanged. The attack angle goes up slightly. And most importantly, we see 116 miles per hour club head speed as opposed to 110. We see 162 ball speed versus 154. So 6 miles per hour here and 8 miles per hour here. And what we see is now, instead of having all these fall just kind of below PGA Tour average, we get all of them up into PGA Tour average, which are these black bars. If you've watched any of my videos, you've heard me talk about that stuff. So as he goes through here, he's adding torque, he's adding verticals, and he's adding horizontals. The nice thing is when he gets here, instead of being at 6% of his body weight, about this point just prior to impact, he's now pushing with 20% of his body weight. That is a massive, massive increase. And when we look at that pressure, significantly higher amount of pressure on this lead foot, 82%. Now it is going to start to accelerate still a little bit late. And this is a little bit of, old dog, new trick, as he put it. It's going to take him a while to really fully realize this. But what we do see right away is a larger spike in the center of pressure velocity graph. So we do see a spike of up to, what do we get here? Can't read that. 2.5. 7 miles per hour, give or take, of acceleration away from the target. When we compare these two swings, the old one being here, the new one being here, we can see quite a difference in this graph. Okay, quite a change in this vertical spiking here. We see a pretty significant change, again, in speeds and ball speeds. But again, we see a big change. How much pressure is on his lead side? So when he gets it down into impact, right? He's at 62% here. He's at 84% here. He's moved over, even though we're trying to accelerate him backwards. In order to do that without hanging back, he's put the foot into the ground and is trying to use the left foot, the lead foot, to push and stabilize his body. That's why this stick is here, right? So this stick is supposed to be pushed towards it with the pressure and then never hit it. And when he does that, we get this femur that's pulling back a little bit. And as a result, at impact, we're going to see more of the left side of his body. He's cleared out quite a bit more. Torque. We're going to see more verticals. We're going to see more horizontal force. So more pressure, more in every single force parameter, with a very, very simple drill, just learning how to move towards the stick in early kind of transition and then away from the stick in downswing. That change, that center of pressure velocity change, creates a huge effect on club head speed. So this spike is super important. I would like to have him locate that a little bit earlier. And he probably has a route to 120 miles an hour or so, but 6 miles per hour gain in day one with Matt is huge. And as he gets more comfortable with that motion and starts to really, like I said, get comfortable and create a little bit more of it, that speed should only rise. So I hope some people find this helpful. I think as golfers, we're taught to kind of finish 100% on our left leg. And that's typically, for the longest hitters on the planet, just not true. They're going to load up to their right foot or their trail foot. They're going to move across their lead foot, and they're going to use that force or that pressure underneath the foot to create a force that is going to push them back away from the target. I think it's not talked about enough of where that pressure and force gets to. So I hope this helps somebody out there. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out, leave some comments, subscribe, do that whole YouTube thing, and hopefully I can help some other players. Take care.